Oh joy. Thanks to friends of Emperor Harper and the more aggressive members of our media, Canada is about to get its own version of Fox News, whom I'll remind you was voted by this show's fans to be a 2009 Douchebag of the Year. Why is this happening? Well, why else? Because conservatives, despite being the biggest group of bullies and bigots on the planet, also have the biggest persecution complex. All of this and more is being brought to you by Sun Media. According to right-wing malcontent Ezra Levant, who calls himself a champion of free speech, conservative Canadians need an alternative to the so-called liberal and condescending mainstream media. First of all, this is the same guy who accused Ann Coulter's critics of hate speech just because they stood up to a woman who was homophobic, racist, and said that non-right-wingers should be physically oppressed. Second of all, if someone actually paid attention to what jokingly passes for Canadian news, it already gives conservative politicians an interest of free ride. Even the supposedly liberal CBC has become little more than a Harper propaganda arm lately. Finally, never mind that I don't know anyone in mainstream media who can really be called crass and condescending. These are the guys that Fox's fans think are better.
You say that any terrorist act, and surely 9/11 fits that bill, right? Surely 9/11 fits the bill of terrorist act.
But it is not I who is saying it. It is the Constitution that is saying it.
I don't care about the Constitution.
The same man then said, if I had some ecstasy here, maybe I'd do it with you. Same guy. And ecstasy
he didn't say that at all. I actually have the quote right here. He never said anything about doing ecstasy with any of the students.
I'm asking you a logical question.
I'm giving you a logical answer.
You don't have logic.
You're right.
Where's your logic? What would you do? I'm asking you, what would you do to change this healthcare system for the better? After all, every time you people bring up costs, you don't care about the trillions of dollars to bail out the banks and all the credit card companies.
Kathy, get off my phone! Get off my phone, you little pinhead!
Let's face it, if these special interest groups really did care about balancing news coverage, there are much easier and more constructive solutions. With all their lobbying power, it shouldn't be hard to convince the CRTC, that's our TV regulator for those playing at home, to make neutral and equalized coverage a mandatory part of a station's license. Here's another simple idea. If conservatives don't want to get beaten up so much, maybe they could stop acting like rabid bulldogs having seizures. I realize that the right wing has a very hard time getting this, but the press isn't supposed to just roll over for corporate and government masters. It's supposed to grill them, hold them accountable, get information. I guess the media caving into the corporate agenda is only okay when it's Rupert Murdoch signing your paycheck, Oh, and before anyone accuses me of pulling out of my ass that remark about Harper's cronies being involved in this, the station's president just happens to be Harper's former propaganda, communication chief. In fact, that same station president has called journalist Don Newman an anti-Semite just because he said that this kind of trash is the last thing Canada needs. Yeah, they really sound fair and balanced, don't they? In general, just try having a conversation with an ultra-conservative like a diehard Harper supporter. They definitely come off as wanting to break in the heads of anyone even vaguely liberal. Probably the only consolation in all this is that not only is Canada a mostly progressive nation, despite what the Republicans think and wish, but we actually have laws against viciously putting down groups like gays, atheists, and Muslims. For that matter, we're generally more accepting of them here than in the US. So if these guys try anything, they're probably going to have a much bigger problem in Canada than in the US. That's it for me.